Hello, welcome to the Mitchell Scholarship Program Graduate Study in Ireland webinar. My name is Tina LeBrun, and I am from the Office of Undergraduate Research and Fellowship Mentoring. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time today talking about our office and the Mitchell Scholarship and the details of the award. So to start, I want to let you all know who we are. This is the Office of Undergraduate Research and Fellowship Mentoring. There I am as the director. We have an assistant director, Chelsea Wells, a program assistant, Kaylee Taylor, who if you ever email our office, you'll probably be in touch with Kaylee. And then we have two graduate assistants, Natalie Benny and Sam Lee, who help us mentor students through the fellowship application process. So you might be working with one of our team members if you're interested in going forth and applying for the Mitchell. So just to give you an idea of what our office does, we have both our undergraduate research side of the office and the fellowship mentoring side. So we help connect undergraduate students to all of the amazing research opportunities that are happening on our campuses. We making sure that it's an accessible opportunity for everyone. We do this through webinars, advising. We meet individually with students. We can do that remotely or in person. We help identify opportunities that might fit different research opportunities, or different fellowships might fit different profiles of students. So we're happy to meet with you individually and talk through what your background is and what your field of study, what your career goals are, and talk through the fellowship opportunities that might match what you're hoping to do. We can help make contact with faculty members for either for mentor purposes for our research side or for recommendations should you need that for a fellowship application. And then we do offer feedback on application materials as you're working on your fellowship application. We can help with personal statements, recommendations, CVs, research proposals, etc. So that is what our office can offer. You can find us in Buki 321 on the third floor. We have a great website with lots of resources you should check out. You can email us if you have questions. Feel free to email us at urfm@psu.edu, and definitely sign up to connect with us via social media, because that's how we are often advertising upcoming deadlines for fellowships, webinars, etc. So I wanted to start just to talk about why would you consider studying in Ireland, let alone through a Mitchell scholarship? Ireland offers a number of world-class universities. Some of them you might have heard of, like Trinity, University College Dublin, University of Galway. They have an enormous amount of research going on in Ireland. It is a hub of entrepreneurship in Europe. There's a lot of study around architecture and arts. So I think many of you, no matter what your field, will find a program at one of the Irish institutions that match your interests. It's always good to gain an international perspective on your field of study, because we now work in a global world, and no matter what you do in your career path, you are likely to work with others from other places. And having that international perspective and seeing things through the lens of a wider world will only help you in your field of study, in your career path, and then in working with others and finding solutions to those problems that we're dealing with in our world today. Ireland has an enormous, rich cultural background, and I've been to Ireland a couple of times in my life, and I can say that the culture there is so accessible. It's very easy to get involved in the music culture in Ireland. It's easy to get involved in the dance culture. They do have a language that about 3% of the population speaks, but they all learn. So it's very easy to become involved in the culture there, which can be tricky in some countries, but in Ireland, it's incredibly welcoming culture that you'll find it pretty easy to get involved and engage with the various cultural activities. And then it's always great to sort of build out your network as you become a professional in whatever field you're going to work in. Knowing folks from all over the world will help you in your career path as you're, solving problems, or as you want to get involved in opportunities as a professional, having that network of people from around the world will help you get where you want to go. And certainly the Irish institutions have really diverse student populations where you will be able to do that and meet people from all over the world. So now that you're convinced that you want to go study in Ireland, let's talk about the Mitchell Scholarship and how you might do that through the Mitchell Scholarship. So I just want to start with the eligibility requirements, because if you're not eligible, then it's not worth staying and listening to this whole webinar. So you do have to be a US citizen. You have to be older than 18 and younger than 30. So this is an award for sort of recent graduates from undergraduate. And you have to hold your bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university like Penn State before beginning your study as a Mitchell Scholar. So a lot of students do this like right after graduation or a few years after they have graduated. It's always good as you're thinking of these awards to think through, what is the background? Why did it start? Because that will help you as you build a competitive application. Always understanding what the purpose and mission of the awards is, so that you can incorporate that into your application materials, will make you more competitive in the long run, because that's what they're looking for. They're telling you, this is what we're looking for. These are the types of candidates that we're interested in. So for the Mitchell, it's important to understand that it's named after George Mitchell, who made a pivotal contribution to the Northern Ireland peace process. So for Senator Mitchell, it was very important, the reunification of Ireland and the peace between Ireland, Northern Ireland, and the UK. So that sort of cultural piece and the role of the United States in the peace process is an important part of the history of the award. Its purpose is to introduce and connect future American leaders to the island of Ireland. So they're really looking for leaders. They're looking for leaders who are interested in that sort of background, learning about Ireland, learning from Ireland, and bringing that back to the United States and turning that into an impact in their field of study. It serves as a unique opportunity to study in Ireland, its unique history, struggles and conflicts called the Troubles. So that's an important piece of this. You'll want to think about how that might fit into your work as a scholar. And then to note, it is funded by the US-Ireland Alliance. So the background here, so you have an idea of what how many awards are given out and the competitiveness of it, etc. There are 12 Mitchell Scholars chosen annually to do 1 year of academic study in a postgraduate study program in any discipline offered by the 11 partnered institutions in Ireland and Northern Ireland. So with 12 applicants every year, it's a pretty competitive award. It's a fully funded opportunity and a great opportunity to build out your network, which means a lot of students are going to want to take advantage of it. So it's definitely a scholarship that, as you sort of embark on the application process, you'll want to consider putting some time into and putting together a really comprehensive and compelling application. So here you can see the institutions that are affiliated with the Mitchell Scholarship, and they, it's a wide variety of institutions with different locations within the country and different fields of study available, etc. So you'll want to spend some time on these websites, taking a look at the various programs available in these institutions to find what one might be good for your field of study. Just like in the US and Ireland, different institutions have different programs and might have different academic strength. So picking an institution, which you'll have to do as part of your application process, is really important, that you've chosen an institution that matches your academic interests and your career path. So you'll want to think about this deeply, take a look at the websites, and really sort through the programs available as you consider your application. What does the Mitchell Scholarship include? Well, it's a full program that includes tuition for the full year of a master's study in Ireland. It will provide funds for accommodation that might be on campus if that's provided. You might know that nowadays there's a housing crunch in Ireland, so it might be that you find off-campus housing, but that would all be considered part of the program funds. And you do get a stipend for some living expenses and travel. They want you to take advantage of your time in Ireland and see the country and become, very knowledgeable about the culture and the history and the politics. So obviously taking advantage of that is important. It's, you're not going to get rich off of this, but you're definitely going to have enough money to spend and really take advantage of your time in Ireland. And it also includes your round trip ticket to the US and back. If you go back and forth in the course of the year, you probably have to pay that for yourself, but they will get you there and get you home at the end of your experience. And as I said, it's for 1 year of postgraduate study. So if I've convinced you that this is an amazing opportunity and you have started looking through some of the programs, it's important to consider what the application process looks like, because this is a competitive award, as I've mentioned before, and it does require what we call Penn State campus nomination. So that means that you have to be chosen by your university, in this case, Penn State, to be nominated for the award. And we do have a campus process to nominate students and support students through the application. So we have a campus deadline on May 10th or August 15th. The earlier deadline we call it the priority deadline. It's I would highly encourage you to try to get your materials in by that deadline, because all students who apply at that deadline will get enhanced mentoring in order to work on your application, work on drafts, improve drafts, work with a faculty member, so that you can have the most competitive application possible. So that happens over the summer, but you can only access those resources if you apply for the May 10th deadline. And then we do have a deadline in August. So if you're like, wow, that's too much, like I'm going away in May, I'm doing a Maymester abroad or something, and the date doesn't work, and that's okay. You can also apply for the August 15th deadline for campus nomination. Then the national deadline will be in September. They haven't announced the dates yet, so we'll announce that when we have it, but it's usually in September, and we expect it to be the same. So you will have some time, if you do that August 15th deadline, to work on your materials between August and September. After that, you will be prompted to do a video interview, a short video with members of the US Irish Alliance, and then those who are chosen after that video interview to be a finalist are brought in November for an interview with the National Review Committee. So that's the process by which you get nominated and then go all the way to the National Review Committee in November. A little bit more detail about the actual campus nomination and how you become involved in that. So if you are interested in being nominated for the Mitchell from Penn State, this first step is to request an application. So you will request the application by emailing our office at urfm@psu.edu, and we will send you the application materials, which you will have completed by the May 10th or August 15th deadline. We will collect all the submitted materials from our Penn State applicants and send it to our review committee. We call it the UK Awards Review Committee because it does include some other awards, Rhodes and Marshall as well. But we send it to the committee to review your application materials, and then you are invited to an interview with the Penn State Nomination Committee after the deadline, after that either May 10th or August 15th deadline, where you will be interviewed by the faculty committee about your research or about your projects, about your creative works, about sort of what your plan is, your career path, the program that you want to do. And if you are then nominated by Penn State, you will be notified by our office, and then you will work with our team here in the Office of Undergraduate Research and Fellowship Mentoring, and also a faculty mentor to finalize your materials for the national deadline. And then you will submit all of the materials by the deadline, and that goes to the National Review Committee. So that's the campus nomination process. So I do want to talk a little bit about sort of what, a successful Mitchell application looks like, and some elements that you want to be thinking about early. So the first thing is to start early. The more you know about the award, the more you're working with our office. We are happy to meet with you at any time. I have met with freshmen who are interested in one of these UK awards, and that is absolutely fine. If you're young and this is something you're thinking about doing later in your, after you've graduated, that's totally fine. If you're a senior and you want to do this after you graduate, that's fine. But reach out to us early, get those application materials so you can have an idea of what kinds of things you'll need to submit. And start working with us early so we can start talking about, if you're a freshman, well, what kinds of things can you do in your time here at Penn State to make yourself a competitive applicant later on? If you're a senior, maybe talking about how do you tell your story? How do you tell the story of what you've accomplished in your time here at Penn State? Think about the criteria of the awards, and then put together a holistic application. So I'm going to go into these a little bit more specifically. So to start early, make an appointment with us through Starfish. Do it tomorrow. Go ahead and start that conversation. Know the deadline and the eligibility requirements. And understand that it's a process. These awards, it's a process of application. You'll write some drafts of your personal statements. And you'll go through a reflection process that most of our students, even those who go through the process and don't end up getting the award, tell us over and over again that the process of reflection was super helpful in identifying goals for graduation, putting together graduate school applications, connecting with faculty, etc. For the Mitchell, you will need 4 recommenders that you'll submit to the national committee eventually. So it's good to start thinking about that soon. As you're starting early and considering everything. Speak to that criteria. I told you, I gave you sort of a little overview about what the award is about. Think about that. What is the, why was it established, and how do your goals and your reasons for going to Ireland fit with the goals of the Mitchell Scholarship, which is this idea of exchange and sort of building that connection between the US and Ireland. How, in your field of study, what does that look like for you? That sort of deep political or economic or artistic, right, connection between American and Irish culture. Where does that exist in your work? And then you'll want to start thinking about tailoring your materials towards the Mitchell selection criteria, which I've listed here. Scholarship, so they want to see students who have done well, and been part of the scholarly conversation within their field. So maybe you've done research, maybe you've been involved in artistic inquiry or works, maybe in your field, you've been part of a community-based learning project or volunteerism, right? All of that should be considered. Leadership. This is sort of impact on others. Where are opportunities or times when you took a leadership position and really worked with your peers to solve a problem, or guided others, or inspired others to action? So that's leadership. That could be that you were a leader in your student org, or you were a mentor in your one of your classes, you were a TA, or you were worked as as a writing tutor helping others, right? Like, how were you impacting others? And then lastly, they care a lot about a sustained commitment to community and public service. So they don't want just to see one volunteer opportunity that you did over spring break. They want to see through your application that the idea of commitment to community has been a part of your values throughout your time at Penn State. So you'll want to show that commitment. Is it through multiple opportunities that you've been done throughout your time here, or is it perhaps a very deep and sustained commitment you've had to an organization here on campus or within the community? So those, make sure as you're writing your materials, as you're thinking through who you're going to ask to serve as a recommender, that you're keeping these 3 things in mind: scholarship, leadership, a sustained commitment to community and service. It's important to think of your application holistically. So if you have, you have certain app materials, right? You'll have a recommendation, you'll have a personal statement, you'll have a chance to list your awards, achievements, community service. and you'll have that video interview. If you just say the same thing over and over and over, like you talk about one experience, like maybe you worked in, the community teaching English, right? And that was what you did. If you mention that in your personal statement, all three recommenders talk about that, and that's what you mentioned in your awards. You look like you don't have the depth, or right, you don't have it's a bit repetitive, frankly, to read. They're reading a lot of these applications. You want each piece of the application to be part of a larger story about you. So you want to start thinking about that. Choose people who can speak to your fit in the criteria in different ways. So instead of getting 3 faculty members who know you from class, maybe you think about, well, this person knows me in my work in the community and at an NGO, and this person worked with me when I was in a student organization and saw my leadership skills, and this faculty member can speak to my academic achievement. You'll really want to choose people who can speak to different aspects of you so that each part of the application is coming together to tell the full story of who you are, right? And you'll also have the personal statement. It'll ask you why you want to be a Mitchell Scholar, why studying in Northern Ireland or Ireland makes sense for your future goals. So here's where you're going to outline kind of who you are, what your goals are, and how does this experience in Ireland fit into that. And that should, again, be part of this larger picture of you that fits with the recommenders and fits with the achievements and community service that you've participated in. And then you will have a chance to list, right, all of your awards, achievements, and community service. You'll want to choose 3 graduate programs. So you want to choose some backup programs that you'll mention in your application. So keep that in mind as you're looking through different programs. And then lastly, the video interview. So what do you want to show in the video interview? What can you add, right, in that sort of medium that will add to all of the information that you've given them in the rest of your application? Every piece should show a little bit of a different side of who you are. And it is strategic to make that happen, right? You have to think about what should go in the personal statement. What can a recommender? Maybe you really want to talk about something in your personal statement, but you don't have space. You only have 1,000 words. Well, have a recommender mention that, right? That's how you're going to put together this holistic application. So, as you're thinking through what you want to do and the next steps, here they are. The first thing, apply. There is no harm in applying. And if you, you're not choosing that path and that you have no other direction to go, it is simply opening another opportunity. So I always tell all students who are like, I'm not sure, it is worth applying. It is worth looking into. So take advantage of the opportunities in front of you. As I mentioned, most applicants that we work with who go through this very intense, frankly, application process tell us that just the process of writing that personal statement and talking with faculty about our recommendations is super beneficial. And when grad school came along or whatever, they had everything in line and everything's already thought through. So it is a worthwhile experience, regardless of what direction you choose to go in the end. Visit the Mitchell website. They have a lot of information. They have the past winners. It's always good to see kind of who are the past winners. What do they look like? What kinds of things did they highlight about themselves in their bios? That'll give you an idea of kind of what they're looking for. And they have FAQs that has lots of information that I highly recommend, etc. If you're young, right, you're a freshman or sophomore, look for ways now that you can strengthen your application. If you haven't yet gotten involved in research, come talk to us and we'll see if we can help you find a research opportunity. If you're thinking about running for that officer position in your student org, go for it, because that'll give you the opportunity to serve in that leadership position, which you can then talk about in future applications. Focus on the quality of experience, right? Make sure, right? Like becoming an officer in a student club shows that you're really devoted to that and that you want to have an impact and that you care about that particular organization. Having 10 clubs that you really just, you never really got into in any depth won't look as strong as having a few that were really close to your passions and heart and things that you devoted your time to. And then lastly, you're going to need recommendations for this and other things throughout your life. And it is much easier to ask for those recommendations when you've had conversations with faculty and built those connections. So go and build those connections now. Have the conversation. Tell them that you're thinking about applying to the Mitchell. Talk to them about their experience and where they went in grad school and how they got where they are, so that when it comes time to actually write the recommendation, whether it's for this or grad school or a job, it kind of doesn't matter. They'll know you. They'll have had a conversation with you, and they'll have things to say and talk about you, which will add to the depth of the overall application. So I, tell students all the time, they say, I'm in big classes, I don't know how to make that connection. Go to office hours. Faculty have office hours for a reason. Go tell them what you're interested in. Just have that conversation begin. Come up with a question, right? So that you can start the conversation. It's very important to start building those relationships as early as possible. So I did want to throw out there, if you're watching this video, it might mean that you're interested in some of our other awards. I mentioned earlier the Marshall Rhodes scholarships. Those are for study, Marshall for a study in the UK. Again, like the Mitchell, where you're going to choose a program from the universities available in the UK. The Rhodes is for graduate study, particularly at Oxford. So if you're interested in that, start looking at Oxford and the programs available in your field of study. The Churchill Scholarship is for STEM students interested in study at Cambridge. Gates Cambridge is at Cambridge again, but more open. It's not just for STEM students, for anyone who wants to do graduate study at Cambridge. The Truman Scholarship is for graduate study in the US. So if you want to, stay in the US, but you are interested in public service, what do they mean by public service? It could be anything from going into government to working as a teacher. I think the way they describe it is, is your dots on the end of your email going to be .gov or .org, something like that, .edu. Those are opportunities that they consider public service. The Fulbright is an international award for after undergraduate, where you can do international study. You can get a master's abroad. You could do some research, or you could be part of the English teaching assistantship program. So you go abroad and teach English in a foreign country. And then for our STEM students, there is the NSF URFP. It's for graduate study in the US related to STEM fields. So those are just some other awards to keep on your radar, and take a look at our website and see if those interest you as well. And don't forget that we are here to help. That's the purpose of our office, is here to help you identify these programs, help you through the application process, give you feedback on drafts of your application, talk through possible recommenders and how you might reach out to them. We are here to help. You can do that in a number of ways. You're watching a webinar now, that's great. You could come to a future info session or webinar. We have workshops that are available to help with writing and other skills. You can send your materials to our email address at urfm.psu.edu, drafts of your application materials, and we'll take a look and give you feedback. As I mentioned, we do help identify opportunities. And then for many of these awards, we do a lot of individual advising. We'll talk you through the application process. We'll read drafts, help have those conversations with you that will help you kind of start to reflect and define the goals that you have for yourself and how to make an impact. We are happy to do that. You can do that through Starfish, but we found just having that conversation and having to articulate to someone what it is your career goal is, or why you want to go to Ireland, or why you want to go to graduate school, can help you as you're writing your personal statements and filling out other pieces of the application. So here's our office contact information. There's our website, lots of really great information there. We attend an event. We have a calendar there where you can register for other events. I highly recommend that you sign up for our monthly newsletter if you are not on it already, as we will publish upcoming webinars, upcoming sessions, deadlines. So we'll remind you, oh, that, May 10th deadline for Mitchell is coming up. So make sure you've made your appointment to talk with a URFM staff member. And then lastly, you can go to Starfish and make an appointment with one of us. And we're happy to talk to you.